This is the After Party, live with Kim McAllister. Pick a couch, grab a drink, and settle into the conversation.
Oh yeah, it's the After Party Live, the post Mark Thompson show. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your patience. I just got a phone call from my husband who said, listen, I'm here waiting for you. We're waiting for you to come on. And I thought, can a girl not put on some lip gloss and prepare for the next show? Really? Sorry if you were waiting for me. I'll try to be quicker in the future. But thank you again for being here and for clicking the like button, for clicking the subscribe button, and for your patience with me. I know we had a troll on the Mark Thompson show and I didn't catch it until later. And someone said he issued a threat because what I saw was, while opinions that were offensive, not a threat until I scrolled back up. So I'm really glad you guys alerted me. Please always do that. If you think something needs my attention, to tell me in the chat so that I can see it in current time and scroll back up and look. So got rid of that guy. It doesn't take 10 minutes to put on lip gloss. That's my husband. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate it. Girl, you just, woo! That's exactly right. Absolutely. So much news today. I hope you enjoyed the Mark Thompson show. Again, tomorrow we'll have Mark will not be there, but we'll have John Rothman on the show, and Belinda Weymouth will talk about the environment. It's going to be another good one, so I hope you'll join me for that. We have a lot to talk about today. It is Travel Tuesday today, and by popular demand, we will be going to Alaska to check out what that state has to offer in the way of travel and sightseeing and the like. But first, let's talk about coffee. There's always a study about coffee. Is it good for you? Is it bad for you? This is another study showing coffee is actually pretty good for you. Now, I don't think it means drink all the coffee, but they say it could be more than a morning pick-me-up. New research is showing moderate, and I emphasize the word moderate, amounts of caffeine, about 3 cups of coffee or tea a day, are associated with a lower risk of developing cardiometabolic multimorbidity. What's that? That is the coexistence of at least 2 cardiometabolic diseases like coronary heart disease, stroke, or type 2 diabetes. And researchers with the Suzhou University in Suzhou, China, say coffee and caffeine consumption may play an important protective role in almost all phases of cardiometabolic multimorbidity development. They looked at data from 180,000 people. So this is a big old study from people in the UK Biobank, which is this large biomedical database and research resource that follows people long term. And they said those involved did not have any of these cardiometabolic diseases at the outset. The information included people's self-reported caffeine consumption through coffee or black or green tea, and the cardiometabolic diseases they developed through their primary care data, their hospital records, and their death certificates. The study, by the way, is published in the Endocrine Society's Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism. They say modern caffeine consumption led to a reduced risk of new onset cardiometabolic multimorbidity. The risk reduced by 48.1% if they had 3 cups a day, or 40.7% if they had 200 to 300 milligrams of caffeine daily. That compared with people who didn't drink or drank less than 1 cup of coffee. That's pretty significant. This large sample size, multiple biomarkers used to support the findings, makes it look pretty strongly at how caffeine affects heart health. UCSF, Dr. Gregory Marcus, who's the Associate Chief of Cardiology for Research and a Professor of Medicine, again, at UCSF, not involved in the research. But looking at the study, he has to say that these observations add to a growing body of evidence that caffeine and commonly consumed natural substances that contain caffeine, like tea and coffee, may enhance cardiovascular health. Now, there are some things they still don't know. They can't exactly pinpoint the connection between caffeine and heart health. And so they say that it's important to emphasize that while the data suggests a relationship between caffeine, tea, and coffee and a reduced risk of a combination of cardiovascular diseases, we need to be really careful before we infer true causal effects. The study observational, so it can only show a connection between caffeine and heart health. There may be other factors that are involved in this. It remains possible, Dr. Marcus said, that the apparent protective effects do not truly exist at all, and the positive associations are explained by some as yet unknown, unmeasured, true determining factor. Maybe people that consume these substances also tend to have a healthier diet or tend to be more physically active. They don't know. So, should you start drinking coffee? Several studies have shown it'll lower your risk of diabetes. And that even though some people say this isn't true, Dr. Marcus says drinking caffeine and coffee is associated with experiencing a lower risk of abnormal heart rhythms. So, maybe there's something to it after all. Yet another coffee study. I don't know if you saw this story about the Titan submersible, but there are hearings going on, an inquiry into the implosion of the Titan submersible that went down to look at the Titanic and then imploded, killing the 5 people aboard. So yesterday was the first day of the hearings, which are expected to last 2 weeks, looking into the implosion and what happened with the Titan. And so we're learning some new information about what happened here. And one of the things that came out yesterday was one of the final messages from the Titan. Before it imploded, killing 5 people, the last message was, "All good here." Yeah, I know. It's pretty creepy. After that message, the crew began to lose contact with those aboard the Polar Prince above, who repeatedly were asking about the submersible's depth and weight as it descended toward the wreck of the Titanic. They also repeatedly asked the folks on the Polar Prince if the Titan could still see the ship on its onboard display. And that was one of the final responses in regards to that question. The communications become spotty, but they descend deeper. They say, "All good here," and that's the last time anyone has ever heard from them. That was June 18th of 2023. They dove, and then 2 hours later, contact was lost. And you remember, likely, the huge search for what at that time everyone was hoping were survivors that would be found alive. Not to happen. Some of the other things that came out, we saw pictures of the wreckage as it was salvaged from the sea. And there's a picture of a big chunk of what was left of the Titan. To a happier story now. This is the Lego McLaren. It's made out of Legos and it actually works. For real. How cool is this? Lego built a full-scale drivable McLaren P1 model, and while it can't hit 217 miles an hour, it did do a lap at the Silverstone circuit. I wouldn't have thought it would be so pretty. I would have thought it would have been more jagged-edged, but it's pretty cute. I mean, do you want a car made of Legos? Not for everyday driving, but it's pretty cool. Look at the detail on that. Yeah, I think it's nice. It's a project, they say, that's an impressive feat of engineering. It's perfectly capable of cruising along a racetrack. The Lego Technic model, which is currently available for hobbyists, McLaren Automotive, they recently partnered with Lego to build this full-scale working adaptation of their P1 supercar. The final result required 23 specialists from both companies to collaborate over more than 8,300 hours of development and construction, followed by another 2,200 hours of production time. This bright yellow variant includes 342,817 Lego Technic elements spread across 393 different types, 11 of which molded specifically for this project itself. This car still required a steel frame and real tires to actually function, but that's about it. Everything else? Lego parts. Yeah, even the P1 engine system is composed of 8 electric motor packs, each with the 96 Lego power function motors to imitate the original McLaren's V8 while offering a nod to the P1's legacy as the world's first hybrid supercar. This Lego Technic weighed in at about 2,690 pounds, which is 385 pounds lighter than the actual racing vehicle. So once they got this thing all put together, McLaren put its experimental car and its own team racer, Lando Norris, inside. And after they arrived at UK's Silverstone circuit, Lando Norris completed an entire lap around this track, 3.66 mile track, at a top speed of 40 miles an hour. Not so fast, a fraction of the speed of the real P1. But it marks the first time a Lego scale has successfully driven around corners, finished an entire racetrack lap, and been piloted by an official Formula One racing driver. So that's pretty cool. Lego has also in the past built a full-size replica of a Bugatti Chiron. They made it from more than 1 million Lego Technic pieces. That one only went 12 miles an hour, and it only drove in a straight line. So this one, it's pretty cool looking, I think. I mean, I love it. It took a long time to build that one. And we talk about the satellites. What's going on with the satellites? Yeah, they're really bright. I mean, really bright. So far, there's 5 new massive satellites. And the word is they outshine most evening stars. So when we look up in the sky and we see something sparkly and glittery up there, it could well be a satellite. These satellites are 700 square feet, and they're part of a broadband constellation that the Texas I can say it, I promise. Texas telecommunications startup called Bluebird says it's just their beginning. So they're going to put a lot more of these things up as well. They put them into orbit September 12th. Again, each device nearly 700 feet wide when it's fully deployed. And they say every Bluebird will soon shine brighter than most stars and planets in the night sky. And even though there's a lot of criticism about this, the CEO of Bluebird says, we're just getting started. Just you wait. Yikes. I don't know if I like that. When I look up in the night sky, I want to see stars. I want to see planets. I want to see the moon. I don't want to see technology winking back at me. These are sometimes visible to the naked eye. There's again 5 of them up there, but the company says in order to achieve a commercially viable satellite broadband network, they have to put up another 90 satellites. 90 of these things. I mean, are we going to look up at the night sky and that's all we're going to see? I have worries. They say also that many future iterations of these satellites will be 3.5 times larger than the current Bluebirds. That would make each fully deployed device more than 2,400 square feet in diameter. That's about half the size of a regulation NBA basketball court, according to Popular Science and Gizmodo. And right now, as of today, there are no legal restrictions for satellite brightness. None. Is it something we should regulate? I'm going to say yes, and I'm going to the chat. Even stars are faked, says SF Tesla. Mo says the Bluebird satellite should be designed to absorb visible light. That would be a trick if they could do that. Mindy says, I want to see the stars. Mo says Starlink is bad enough. It already took 1 magnitude of light coming to Earth down. Did it? Yikes. Teacher Lori, great. More light pollution. Absolutely, as if we didn't have enough on Earth. Now we've got it in the sky. Gordon says no. It's progress. You can't stop progress. We've got to push forward, right? Gordon wants the stars. Mama says it makes me think of Wall-E. Wes says it's going to mess with constellation viewing. This is my problem with it. I mean, what if I want to go out with a telescope that my son got last Christmas and I want to look at the sky? I don't want to see your satellite, your basketball court size satellite. Come on now. Mindy says no controls on this stuff. They can do whatever they want, and we wonder why it's all messed up. Blinded by the light. Exactly. There should be, I think there should be. I mean, I guess we have to, the laws have to catch up with technology, right? So maybe it makes sense that there should be some type of regulation about how bright your satellite can be in the sky. Maybe it should be made of a duller material. I don't know. All right. Thank you for the participation in that conversation. Shall we move now to the things we take for granted? Yeah, like nuts and bolts. Now, I know you think, what the hell is she talking about? Nuts and bolts? Come on now. Do you know there was a time where they weren't uniform? Where each bolt had a corresponding nut that fit it, and it didn't fit any other bolt. And so if you lost one and you were building something, everything had to stop so they could make a new nut to fit that bolt because they weren't all the same. Things we take for granted, right? This is a story about the Crystal Palace in the UK and how quickly that it was built. And so researchers are looking back at this 173-year-old so-called architectural mystery. They are looking at how they managed to build this in 190 days. I mean, it was put up really, really fast. And what they realized, it was standard screws. Simple, standard nuts and bolts. In 1851, that invention allowed engineers to build the Crystal Palace at a previously unimaginable speed. The Great Exhibition of 1851 showcased Britain's most advanced and acclaimed industrial capabilities. This 5-month-long event at the crown jewel undoubtedly came from architect Joseph Paxton, according to Popular Science. It was more than 1,800 feet long. The Crystal Palace, you can see here, was the world's largest building at the time. It featured a huge glass roof supported by 3,300 cast iron columns. But historians were confused for all this time as to how it was possible to complete this structure in only 190 days. Well, there's a new study that was published in the International Journal for the History of Engineering and Technology. And according to a professor of English literature at the Anglia Ruskin University, the Crystal Palace relied on what at the time was a revolutionary screw thread designed by a man named Joseph Whitmore. So before Whitmore's standardized concept, every screw and bolt was unique to one another without any standardized measurements. So if you lost a screw or you had a broken bolt, it ground your construction project down to a standstill until someone could make a replacement that exactly fit. They say given the immense size and complexity, the Crystal Palace alone needed 30,000 nuts and bolts. The forms of screw threads used in the Crystal Palace buildings haven't been recorded in any of the surviving drawings. None of the rare existing bolt threads have been measured, recorded, or published until now. And the reason behind the original bolt's rarity is after deconstruction in Hyde Park and subsequent rebuilding in South London, the Crystal Palace burned down in 1936. But the curator for the Crystal Palace Museum did excavate one of the last known bolts from a column at the building's original site, and as well as a nearby water tower built at the time to power the palace fountains. And so he took them in for analysis. And they say the Crystal Palace column bolt matched exactly to Whitworth's measurements, years before it became known as the British Standard Whitworth, or BSW, the world's first national specification of its kind. After soaking the water tower's nut and bolt in oil, then using a combination of heat, force, and hammering, he also discovered measurable screw threads matching BSW specifications. And they went on to prove their theory. So it was the development of the standard nuts and bolts that allowed this. So check it out. The old screws and the new screws. I know, things we take for granted, things you might never have thought of before. Here it is on the After Party Live. You ready for something more lighthearted? How about the lotto of the day? And for that, we go to the fine state of Michigan. Ever collected your spare change? Little here, a little there. There's a Michigan Lottery Club. It's a club. They play the lotto. And they collect old cans and they play the lottery with their money they get from their recycled cans. They've been playing for 3 decades. The members funding their gambling habit with the spare change they earn from can recycling. They checked the ticket. All the numbers matched except the mega ball, so 5 out of 6. They said, we thought we weren't seeing this right. So we had other people look and confirm they won $1 million, $1 million. They say it fully hasn't sunk in for the club members yet. They don't say how many club members there are, so how many people are going to split the million, but that's not so bad. It took a long time, though. Again, they've been at this for a while. Years and years, 3 decades they've been playing with their recycled can money, and finally they hit the big million. So good for them. We're going to see the super harvest moon and a partial lunar eclipse. Let me get the picture up for you. There you go. This is a combination, and it's being called a rare celestial trifecta. This super harvest moon with a partial lunar eclipse is set to light up September's night skies tonight. The partial eclipse begins late Tuesday night and will run into Wednesday morning, and it happens during the supermoon when the moon's orbit is slightly closer to Earth and will be visible from most of North and South America, Europe, Africa, Western Asia, and parts of Antarctica as well. This from Popular Science, they tell me that a supermoon, which is the largest and brightest moon of the year, occurs when it's within 90% of its closest orbit to Earth. In this case, it's called a harvest moon because this full moon tonight will be the closest to Sunday's autumnal equinox, when the summer officially ends. The lunar eclipse happens when the sun, the earth, and the moon line up, with the earth casting its shadow on the moon, making it appear darkened and reddish. So Tuesday's partial lunar eclipse will shadow a small 8.7% sliver of the moon. The parts of the world that will not be able to see this rare lunar trifecta, and areas where the visibility is a little hazy because of fog and whatever else, will be able to watch it on live stream. Oh, it's going to be cool. Timeanddate.com hosting a live stream tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern. Adler Planetarium in Chicago hosting a live stream as well, so you can check that out. The full moon reaching its peak in the United States at 10:35 p.m. Eastern. The moon will appear full for about 3 days through Thursday morning. The partial lunar eclipse will enter Earth's shadow starting at 8:41 p.m. Eastern on Tuesday and will peak at 10:44 p.m. with only the top 8.7% of the moon in full shadow. And then it's expected to wrap up Wednesday morning by 12:47 a.m. So, Get out there and take a look at it. It's going to be interesting if we can see it. Hope we can. A lot of people do this. They have something they don't want, and for a few days they set it by the sidewalk or the side of a roadway to see if anybody wants it. This is different than dumping, because you plan to, like, if you put something on the sidewalk in front of your house and nobody passes by and takes it, then you have to carry it off to donate or to the dump or wherever else, right? And it's common to do this, not only here in the United States, but also in the UK. But it didn't go very well for this lady. She's in the UK. What they call this, leaving something out for passersby to take, in the UK they call it fly tipping. She left this IKEA cabinet outside for passersby to take. She's done it before, never had a problem. Her name is Isabel. She said she's been doing this for years. And she was really shocked when she was fined £500 for fly tipping after she left this IKEA cabinet outside of her house. She said it was a medium-sized cabinet. She had used it to store her children's toys. It was in her son's room. She took it outside and leaned it against the front wall of her home. She said after 5 days, a council officer knocked on her door to tell her there was a problem with it being there, so she moved it back onto her property and then she disposed of it. Then she got another knock on the door 3 weeks later after the item is already gone. And that's when she was presented with a £500 fine for so-called fly tipping. She said, I got a knock on the door with a man with an enforcement camera on his chest telling me he's filming me. He read a caution speech to me. So she said that was very nerve-wracking. And then she said he issued me with a $500 fine for fly tipping. She challenged the fine in writing, had to go through an official appeals process with a third-party enforcement company. But she says the one thing she has had is overwhelming support from the local community. With another person saying, we've been doing this for years. They had no idea that they were so-called fly tipping. So she said even other local counselors have called her offering messages of support. So she's hoping the appeal will be successful and the fine will be dropped. But yeah, something as simple as setting something outside, boom. Now again, that's different than driving somewhere and dumping your furniture, right? And while it may look tacky to set something outside of your house, oftentimes people scoop it up and take it. So it's really, reduce, reuse, recycle. Better than it having things end up in a dump if someone can actually use it. I don't know. Seems like it to me. We have known that microplastics have been found in our brains, in other parts of our bodies, the placenta, the penis, the testicles, everywhere, pretty much. Well, this new study shows for the first time, scientists have detected microscopic microplastics lodged in the human brain. And researchers in Germany and Brazil say 8 out of 15 autopsied adults had microplastics detected within their brain's smell centers, the olfactory bulb. That means these particles were likely breathed in over a lifetime because tiny floating microplastics are in the air. I mean, breathing, just breathing. This is what we've done. They say microplastics have already been found in human lungs, intestines, liver, blood, testicles, semen. But it's long been thought that the body's protective blood-brain barrier could keep them out of the brain. Well, we knew already from earlier research that they've been found in the brain as well. But one of the potential pathways for the translocation of microplastics to the brain is this olfactory bulb. This team led by Free University Berlin and the University of Sao Paulo. The team publishing its findings this week in the journal JAMA Network Open. With much smaller nanoplastics entering the body with greater ease, they say, the total level of plastic particles may be much higher. A group advocating for reduction in plastic use did fund the study, so that's notable. But what the researchers say is worrying about their findings is the capacity of such particles to be internalized by cells and alter how our bodies function. The people they autopsied ranged in age at death from 33 to 100. The average age was about 70 years old. They looked at a total of 16 synthetic polymer plastic particles and fibers identified in brain olfactory bulbs. 8 of the 15 deceased people had those. In nearly 44% of cases, the plastic was polypropylene, one of the most common plastics used in everything from packaging to clothing to home accessories. The indoor environment, they say, is a major source of inhaled microplastics. Breathing. That they say the nasal mucosa lying outside the brain may interact with cerebrospinal fluid to allow the entry of microplastics into the olfactory bulb via tiny perforations in bony structures found in this area. So here's what happens. When you breathe through your nose, your olfactory nerve directly samples particles and reacts to the particles that you're inhaling as a direct sensory mechanism. The fact that there's no blood-brain barrier there leads to direct access to the brain, and most importantly, right above the olfactory nerves are the frontal and prefrontal lobes, where they believe the seat of consciousness is. So, can these microplastics affect the health of our brains? They don't know yet. They don't know. They say the potential is there. Considering the potential neurotoxic effects caused by microplastics in the brain and the widespread environmental contamination with plastics, they say their results should raise concerns in the context of increasing prevalence of neurodegenerative diseases like Parkinson's, ALS, and other issues. But they can't say for sure. They just know it's there. So, isn't that nice? Shall we lift up things now? Thanks for bringing the party down, Debbie Downer. How about this? This is a new development being tested. Self-healing car paint. They're looking at this inside of a Texas factory. They've got a gravel shooting machine that pummels the paint of these self-healing cars to make sure that it actually works. They say it looks pretty good. You can see it. I have a video. I'll show it to you. They try to scratch these vehicles with a wire brush. Then they tried to shoot gravel at the vehicles. And in each case, it seems like they are able to, I have to take the picture down. Seems like they're able to repair, the paint is able to repair itself. Take a look at this. Here's what it looks like. And again, it's all still being tested. But here's the demonstration. So they have these little mini car hoods, right? So here they scratch it up with a wire brush, and you can see the scratches there. Then they stop, and within just a couple minutes, it self-repairs, and the scratches go away. Okay, that's cool, right? Then they've got this handheld gravel shooter. And I don't know if that's the gravel shooter or not, but they blast it with gravel. And even then, it heals itself. They say that it's self-heating, this paint protection film, that's what allows the paint to be healed. There it is. So again, they're still testing it. They're still trying to make all this happen. See if I can get to you. There it is. See the gravel? They're going to blast it with gravel now. This is a fun lab. I like this. They're going to see what happens. And will it work? So here he goes. Going to pour it into the gravel shooter, which is going to then shoot it. Pour it all in. Going to shoot it right at this little mini car hood to see if it works out. Yeah. Let's go. Here, let's hear.
Channel at around 60 miles per hour.
60 miles an hour. Okay. That's about highway speed.
Okay, I have to take the music off. So the rocks pelt it, and it works. I think this is cool. It's like magic. I don't know. Science. Gotta love science. So there it is. It's been pelted with gravel. It's looking pretty raggedy. And it healed itself because of its protective film. That's pretty good. And we still have the music on. Yeah. Anyway, they do it again and again and again. But the bottom line is there's this new paint in development, which could mean you won't have to worry about door dings or gravel flying off the back of a truck. This is XPEL, XPEL, and that was the headquarters of this company where they're looking at this self-healing adhesive that goes over car paint. They say it's self-healing, and they call it the gravelator that shoots a steady stream of rocks at their sample pieces to see if the paint underneath is damaged. They say this is really all about chemistry and specific procedures that create a repeatable shield for vehicles and maybe for other things as well. It's engineered the paint protection with cutting-edge polymer science. They are described as macromolecules, long molecular chains that provide the building blocks for all matter in the world that isn't metal or ceramic. They say protective paint films like XPELs have to adhere to the metal and non-metal surfaces of the car and keep bird droppings, acid rain, and rock chips from damaging the finish. The durable and stretchy material is a multi-layer cake made from incredibly thin bands, each a fraction of the thickness of a strand of human hair. I'll show you a picture of it again. I think this is cool. They say that the top layer of the film has elastic polymers, which have the ability to self-heal when they're exposed to heat. The films are engineered to have a synergistic interaction between reversible covalent bonds, hydrogen bonds, or ionic bonds present in the formulation to help achieve a high degree of self-healing and mechanical performance. The self-healing mechanism utilizes the exchange of dynamic chemical bonds and supramolecular physical interactions between damaged surfaces within the polymer chain, enabling the polymer chains to reconnect and return to their original pristine condition. Pretty cool. They knit themselves right back together. They say if the film doesn't self-heal, they won't ship it out. So, remember the car bras that people used to put on the front of their cars in the 80s that would keep the paint from being dented by gravel or things flying up from the roadway? They say this would be the new car bra. This paint that self-heals. So, they're working on window tint as well to get that to repair itself. I don't know how that's going, but look at that. I love it. We have to get to Travel Tuesday. Oh, I'm going to the comments. Hold on. Got to look at the comments. Rev says, this paint may hurt body shops. Possibly. Or maybe people will flock to body shops to have it put on. Heather says car bras were actually worse for paint. I didn't know that. Yeah, the car bra. Remember the car bra? It looked like I don't know, like a piece of leather or fake leather that you would strap to the front of your hood of your car. Yeah, I know. Will new paint be applied to human skin? What, to keep us from being damaged as well? Yeah. Oh, David says this is where I need the smash it with your iron rod. Yeah, that would work. That's true. Trevor says that won't help my sunroof that someone smashed. Oh no, I'm so sorry. Damn it. I hate when that happens. I hope they didn't take anything, but I know that's expensive to get replaced. Ugh. Heather says yes regarding the car bras. They trapped gravel and then actually made it scratch the paint. Ooh, yeah. Not what was intended, was it? All right, shall we move to, you know what? I really wanted to show you this building. I might have to show you this building tomorrow. I'm so sorry, because I want to have enough time for us to do our virtual trip together, because it is Travel Tuesday on the after party. And as requested yesterday, I think my SJ Lola requested it, we are going to Alaska. First stop, Denali National Park. It's beautiful. Look at that. What a view. The list comes from Travel Lemming. They have the 49 essential things to do in Alaska, and we're not going to all 49 places. We'll go to as many as we can get to. But the first thing on the list is the Denali National Park and Preserve. Epic sites of interior Alaska at what is the most popular national park in the state. The folks there say Denali National Park is the place to witness the epic grandeur only found in the last frontier. They say it's also one of the best places to stay in Alaska. They've got luxury resorts to camping spots. So whatever your budget is, it's a great place to stay around this area. Next on the list, Kenai Fjords National Park and Reserve. Put this a little closer to me. There it is. Who doesn't want to go whale watching? Come on. Incredible. The Kenai Fjords National Park and Preserve includes some of Alaska's most famous wildlife in what's called majestic fjords. You can see the best of coastal Alaska at this park south of Seward. Long, narrow fjords reach far inland, surrounded by mountains and spruce forests. They say it's a prime place for wildlife viewing. You'll see humpback whales, bald eagles, and other Alaskan animals. There are even cruise tours of these fjords. You can check it out. They'll take you around the park at the Exit Glacier, which is just north of the town of Seward Scenic Highway. Next on the list is the Anchorage Museum. Learning all about Alaska at this museum in downtown Anchorage. They say it's one of the best things to do in Anchorage. You learn about all aspects of life in Alaska and the people who call it home. They have a permanent collection of artifacts telling the story of the native tribes of Alaska and their cultures. And info on the scientific side of Alaska as well. So, you know how we like science on this show. Down with that. And then, how about the Alaska Native Heritage Center, where you can look at Native history? What you're looking at there are traditional ulu knives used by Inuit women. They say it's a must-see museum in Anchorage. You can learn more about the 5 main cultural groups of Alaska's Native peoples. The reconstructions of their villages offer a fascinating look at how the different tribes there adapted to the different climates within Alaska. They host cultural events, workshops, especially in the summer, traditional dance performances, hands-on classes in art and handicrafts, so it's a fun place to go. As is this. This would be Glacier Bay National Park and Preserve. You can get an up-close look at the most spectacular glaciers in southeast Alaska. They call it one of the highlights. Massive rivers of ice wind their way out of the mountains. The seas and the skies, full of wildlife. Beauty at every corner here. You can get here by sea or air, but they say the extra effort is actually worth it. There are landslide sections of this park, so a cruise tour is the best way to see Glacier Bay. And it's not always super expensive. They have a state ferry that you can take. But speaking of cruises, that's also on the list. Taking an Alaskan cruise. Pretty cool. And it doesn't have to be the whole time you're there. It could be a day cruise or a couple of days that you could check this out. They say see the best of coastal Alaska, from the lush forested east to the remote wind-swept islands out west. Many itineraries stop at one or more destinations, which saves you the time and effort required to get there on your own. They say you should consider a cruise along the Aleutian chain if you want to get off the beaten path. The beauty there is more austere, kind of remote, but it's beautiful. Another great stop, the Alaskan Wildlife Conservation Center. We're going to see a lot of wildlife here. They say the wildlife can be elusive at times. So the Alaska Wildlife Conservation Center offers visitors of all ages an up-close look at some of the most famous local wildlife. They say the center began as a rehab center for injured orphaned animals, and it's now one of the most popular attractions in the Anchorage area. Just a day trip from Anchorage, an hour south of town. They also, by the way, have the Alaska Sea Life Center. And there it is. This aquarium is in Seward, a great complement to the Alaska Wildlife Conservation Center. They have a wealth of information about marine life in Alaska. They say it's a really good activity to do, especially if you have kids, and that this is really fun. Look at this. How beautiful is that view? Wrangell St. Elias National Park and Preserve. It's America's largest national park, and it's in eastern Alaska. Few places, they say, beside Denali can rival the vastness of Wrangell St. Elias National Park. It is 13.2 million square miles, dwarfing other parks and even entire states. It is the place to go if you want an excursion in the backcountry. It also is home to Kennecott Mine, which is one of Alaska's few ghost towns. There's an on-site museum talking about the tale of copper mining and the bust of the early 1900s. It's about 5 hours east of Anchorage. Something else fun to do in Alaska, according to the locals, the Alaska Railroad. It's one of the classiest ways to get around the Great Land. The routes take you as far north as Fairbanks and as far south as Seward, with several stops along the way in either direction. The Spencer Glacier, south of Anchorage, is one of the highlights, and it's unavailable by any other mode of transportation. So, pretty cool. You can get a basic ticket, or you can upgrade to more luxurious seating and meal service on the train. Could be fun. Something else in Alaska, of course, Aurora Borealis, the northern lights. A little more common there than it is here. Aurora season is from late August to mid-April. The night skies are darker. They say the best places to see the northern lights are further from urban light pollution. The more spectacular Aurora Borealis shows, though, they say are visible from almost anywhere. They say the further north you go, the better your chances for seeing the northern lights, and Fairbanks is considered one of the best places. They even have northern lights viewing tours there. This looks amazing. The Chenna Hot Springs area. They say you can chase away the winter chills in these natural hot springs right outside of Fairbanks. Unwinding at Chenna Hot Springs Resort. It's an hour east of Fairbanks. Great place for some R&R. You'll find soaking pools, overnight accommodations, and the Aurora Ice Museum as well, which stays frozen year-round and is the largest attraction of its kind in the world, the Aurora Ice Museum. It has ice sculptures, an ice bar. Yeah. Park is available free of charge. Speaking of which, you might want to check out the town of Fairbanks, Alaska. A cute little town. It's the last frontier's northernmost city. There's a Fountainhead Antique Auto Museum here. They say it's a great place for vintage vibes and local history, even if you're not into cars. But Heather, we know you're into cars. They have the yearly Midnight Sun Festival, which is the largest single-day event in the state. Takes place around the summer solstice, with food, booths, and music, and much more, and it lasts from noon to midnight. So, pretty fun. And while you're in this area, why not check out the North Pole? Yes, It is in the Fairbanks area. It's the most famous suburb of Fairbanks. Christmas all year round. And if you're taking your family, a must see. The Santa Claus house offers kids the chance to meet Santa, even at the height of summer. They do it Wednesday through Saturdays. You have to check that if you go. They say even the street lights reflect the Christmas theme. With names like Santa Claus Lane and Mistletoe Drive, North Pole swings into full gear come wintertime with Christmas lights on buildings and festivities celebrating the season. So you have to go see the North Pole. It's a suburb of Fairbanks. The next one I have for you is the Katmai National Park. Look at all those bears. Look at them all there. That's cool. I have it. The Katmai National Park. Do I have it? There, with 49, I wanted to skip some, so there it is. This is where all the bears hang out. The brown bears are one of the most iconic creatures in Alaska, and Katmai National Park is one of the best places to see them in the wild. Not being a Turon, staying far away from them, right? This national park is best reached by air from Anchorage aboard a charter flight. The flights take off from other towns like Kodiak too, if that fits into your itinerary better. You can make it a day trip to Katmai, or you can stay for a while. There are several stunning sights. They have the Valley of 10,000 Smokes. Fishing is good here, but you'll probably find yourself competing with the bears in that area. Let's go to the Tracy Arm Fjord. Look at that view. Incredible. Makes me want to go immediately. This is one of the most epic corners of southeastern Alaska. Awe-inspiring landscapes. It's southeast of Juneau. The Tracy Arm Fjord. They say make sure to add a cruise here to your itinerary for Alaska if you want to see the best of southeastern Alaska. Waterfalls cascade down mountainsides. Icebergs calve off from the Sawyer Glacier. Whales, otters, Alaskan animals thriving in the water here, peeking their heads out from time to time to look around. Ooh, beautiful. Then there's the town of Skagway. That's pretty cool. This is like stepping back in time to the Klondike Gold Rush in this little town. One of the best places to learn about the Klondike Gold Rush days. It once served as the gateway for prospectors on their way from America to the Yukon Territory looking for gold. It has an old-timey feel, and they say that this town, this little town of Skagway, honors and preserves its proud past. And since we're visiting some cities, how about we go to Juneau, Alaska? Juneau is Alaska's capital city. You can hike or ride up Mount Roberts on the tram for the best views in town. There are museums here. You can pan for gold in the local creek. It's Alaska's third largest city. They also have a huge brewery here, the Alaska Brewing Company. So they say when you're done looking at the town for the day, go check out the brewery. And you gotta go here, Ketchikan, right? Look at that. You can learn about the totem poles and the Haida tribe who carved them in the southernmost city of Alaska, Ketchikan. I know we're short on time, so let's jump right to the glaciers because this just looks incredible. Also on the list, I should say, though, is Sitka, is going fishing, Kodiak Island. They list a bunch of remote villages to see real Alaska firsthand. The gates of the Arctic National Park, and then this, Portage Glacier. You've got to set sail for this one. They say it's one of the most accessible glaciers in Alaska, accessed by a short cruise from the roadside shore of Portage Lake. This glacier was once visible from the road, but it's since retreated. There's a hiking trail that leads to it, but it begins in Whittier, and it's pretty difficult, so not everybody is going to be able to take that route. They say the payoff is absolutely worth it. Beautiful. And lastly, this glacier, if I can say it right, the Matanuska Glacier, which is pretty beautiful. It's roadside in Alaska, but it's one of the more accessible glaciers, they say. The Matanuska Glacier. It's a landlocked glacier 95 miles northeast of Anchorage. You can drive to this, which makes it one of the more popular attractions in this area. Anyone, they say, can visit the glacier or the nearby state recreation area for great views. They do have a guided tour that is required to go out onto the glacier itself. But for a lot of people, this is the easiest glacier to visit in the state. Other fun things to do in Alaska, river rafting as well. Other museums, the Museum of the North, the Kodiak History Museum. There's a zoo in Alaska. All kinds of fun things. So, there we are. We've been to Alaska with SJ and Lola. Look at us go. How cool are we? Judy says Alaska looks like a great state to visit. SJ Lola says the color of the water along the inside passage is the most beautiful turquoise. So cool. B.A. Ware agrees. Stunning, beautiful water. So beautiful. Teacher Lori says, too much to say. Juneau has a glacier almost right in town. River of ice. Too much to say about Alaska. Kodiak Island is great. Blue ice is amazing. SJ Lola says the towns all resemble Truckee in the Sierra. Well, good. Then it feels like I've already been there, right? Yeah. Nice. Uncle Jim says, just looked it up. Area of Wrangell St. Elias National Park and Preserve. Yeah. A lot of acreage there. Did I get the acreage wrong? I have to go back because I thought they told me what the acreage was there. Hold on. Let me go back and look it up before we leave, just to be factually accurate. What they tell me in this article about Wrangell is that it is 13.2 million square miles. That's what you had, right? A massive 13.2 million square miles, which dwarfs other national parks and entire states as well. That's the information from travellemming.com. And by the way, all of the items listed on the best things to do in Alaska, written by locals. So there you go. Thank you for being here on the After Party Live. Huge thank you to Wes, who throws down $10. Mark plays hooky, so you get both $5. Thank you for your generosity. I'll take both. Thank you, Wes, so much for your generosity and your kindness always. Pamela Kirby popping in with $10 says, Kim, I don't think any of us blamed you about the trolls today. Yeah, but usually I'm on top of it really quick. And it seemed like you guys had to suffer with that one for a while, so I felt a little bad about it. Pamela says, I really had to bite my tongue and not engage with those folks. Need a saltwater bath to rid the toxins they spewed. And that's the thing. Mark Thompson show, this show, Nikki's show, we want it to be a nice place to come, to visit with people, to get to know people, you know, not necessarily like-minded people, although in many cases, yes, but to be able to, I don't know, meet people and have a social interaction and have a, you know, have a kind of a party atmosphere. So when we see that and don't catch it in time, it's a bit of a bummer. Thank you, though, for not blaming me so much. And thank you for the $10 super sticker as well. And then here comes Doug marching up in the rear with a $5 super sticker. And by that, I just mean coming in at the end of the line. Thank you very much, Doug, for the $5 super sticker. I really appreciate it very much. Thank you for all the contributions today. I will see you tomorrow on The Mark Thompson Show. We've got John Rothman on tap, Belinda Weymouth on tap, and then back here tomorrow for the After Party Live. But until then, go out and make it a really, really great day. And I will see you tomorrow right here on
The After Party Live would like to thank the following contributors and viewers like you.
Aw, thanks, Mindy. And thanks, Gordon. Click the like button. Click subscribe. Click away. Aloha, Deidre. Bye, everybody.